Welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. And it's been a long time, but we're back.
A week. It's been a week.
It's been a week. And what a week it has been.
Yes.
Welcome into the show. Ant is here. Adam Kimmelman is here. Intern Andrew over on the ones and twos. Bundy. Is Bundy doing pregame over in the studio?
Bundy's doing his
studio?
Yeah, he's doing his pregame radio in the Snow the Goalie studio. And Bundy just drove. He went to visit his family up in Ottawa. Drove 8 hours from Ottawa directly to the Wells Fargo Center. So
that's commitment.
Well, it's commitment, but I can promise you this. He's in a mood. So
that's a long drive.
Yes, he's kind of grumpy.
And out of here.
He's kind of grumpy. So we could get a fun Bundy today.
Fundy, if you will.
Fundy. Adam Killen, you've been in the building a long day today. You got here at 10:30 for the Kings skate this morning.
Yeah, I came here, covered the LA Kings morning skate, hung around, just kind of did some other work here. Now we're getting ready to go tonight. Watch Flyers try to right the ship after last night in Detroit.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, as you were walking in, I thought, man, it's been a long day. He's just tired. You had a rough time sitting down on that chair. Like the legs were hurting you a little bit. And then I found out that it has nothing to do with your long day, that you actually are just sore from playing hockey a few days ago.
I have a severe case of old man-itis, as I like to call it. I'm 49, Ant.
It's a year younger than me.
The body parts don't bounce back the way they used to when you decide to play street hockey with your 16-year-old son and his friends and some other dads. Yeah. So at least I'm not the only cripple kind of lying around the Bucks County area. There's a few of us that are laid up and hurting right now.
It's good.
But it's good. Listen, I'm a hockey writer. I'm here.
That's right. You're a tough guy.
He's tough.
Dan
He's
Hilferty?
a tough guy.
Waving.
That's a guy. He's a tough guy, too. Dan Hilferty.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about the Flyers and Red Wings game from last night. And the thing that stood out the most from watching back, and the thing that lit social media on fire was...
Oh, the arm? When the ref put the arm up?
Yes, I can't recall ever seeing that.
Yeah, like penalty,
previously.
but it's not.
I made sure to...
I can't recall ever seeing an incident like that, a moment like that.
Yeah.
And look, coaches they're heated at the worst of times and the best of times, which was probably not last night. John Tortorella reacted pretty much like you would think John Tortorella would react. However, I'm not going to hold it against him. I would have been angry.
I would have been angry too.
Certainly, and if the Red Wings had scored,
could you imagine that?
Yep.
Wow.
Because they had an extra skater on. So the Flyers had 7 guys on the ice because the goalie Urson comes back on, and they had 6 skaters because Urson had gone off and connecting had come on. So now they have 7 players on the ice. And then you would have had Detroit with an extra skater on the ice. And so it'd be like we're playing 6-on-6.
It was one of the stranger moments I've seen in my years as a hockey fan and as a hockey writer.
I just wonder what the league would have done if Detroit had scored.
Well, I think the simple solution is the play is dead. We made a mistake.
Yep.
We're whistling it dead. We're going to roll the clock back to whenever we should have caught our mistake. Goal doesn't count. Face it off at center ice and let's get her rolling again. I think that would have been the most prudent solution had something like that happened.
Sounds like robotic and technology overrunning and overruling human beings. It's like AI is going to start reffing the games. Gentlemen, you have to allow for the infallibility of humans to make bad calls. You can't just go back. If Detroit had scored, they would have earned that goal.
Well, it would have been even strength.
Well, they would have earned that goal.
I don't know how they would have scored that had it happened. But let's just all be happy that it didn't, and we don't have to talk about it.
But the other big thing from last night, and it's now carrying over to tonight, and I know that you were at John Tortorella's pregame availability, is Cam York. Gets benched for the third period last night. Played all of 12 minutes while his normal partner Travis Sanheim played 24. And now Cam York's not in the lineup tonight. Healthy scratch. Emil Andre checks back into the lineup. What do you make of that? I know Tort said that he's not played up to snuff since coming back from the injury, but you don't normally take your top pair defenseman have him make a mistake in a game, bench him for 20 minutes, and then take him out the next game. That is very unusual.
Well, and I think what that says is it wasn't just the mistakes he made last night that are the reason he's out of the lineup today. Torts' phrase was he's been stuck in neutral since he came back. And if you look at the numbers, he's got a goal and an assist in 12 games now. So he's been back. He was out a month. He's been back 3 weeks now. So you would think any sort of rust would be gone. I think if you watch the games, there's nothing that has stood out with Cam York since he's come back in the lineup. And you give him a little bit of a grace time because he was out for as long as he was. But it's to the point now, certainly in the coach's eyes, where he hasn't played well, and maybe he does need a night off. And I think the question that got raised during the press conference was, is it a chance for a mental reset? And Torts immediately shot that down. But I think it is, in a way, a chance for him to just kind of catch his breath and say, all right, maybe I wasn't as healthy as I thought I was, and taking a game off on the back end of a back-to-back will, down the line, pay dividends. I don't foresee this being a long-term thing with Cam York where he's out of the lineup 5, 6, 7 games in a row. I think this is probably a one-off, and he'll be back in his usual spot alongside Travis Sanheim when we reconvene on Saturday.
But here's the question that I have, and this is something I was talking about this with Bundy pregame. Let's just say Cam York doesn't make the mistake he makes in the game last night that leads to the benching, right? They may not have been happy with the way he's played since coming back, but do you think that he's that if that mistake doesn't happen in the game last night, but he still doesn't have a great game, he's a healthy scratch tonight? Or it just seems impulsive as opposed to something that was planned?
No, and I think there might be something to that, and this is a coach who has said, I trust my gut, for the 3 years he's been here, that in the moment he will make these kind of decisions in game or as tonight, day after game, where if he doesn't like something, he's not going to hesitate. He's going to solve the issue in the moment. So in this moment, he feels like Cam York is not one of the best 6 defensemen on his roster, so he's going to make the move that he's making tonight. Again, that could very well change tomorrow. Now, to your point of if he doesn't make the mistakes that he made last night, the egregious mistakes that leaves him getting benched, if he's still in the lineup tonight, I would lean towards yes, because at that point, whatever the issues are, they're not hurting the team. But when they start hurting the other 19 guys in the lineup, then it becomes a thing that has to be addressed. It was addressed partially last night. It's being addressed again today.
And I think sometimes, and maybe he won't say this publicly, but I think Torts does this with guys when there is a systemic problem with the team, and he picks out somebody to kind of throw into the doghouse, right? And the systemic problem that I saw, and you tell me if I'm watching on TV, but I think it's not just last game, but also the Minnesota game as well. They really seem to give up the middle of the zone, their own end. Usually the Flyers this season have been really good at defending the box in front of the goaltender. They'll let you have the outside, let you be able to shoot from the wall, but they defend that area of the ice right in front of the goal crease pretty well. I felt like both Minnesota and Detroit had a little bit more free reign in that area.
Well, here's where
and not just when Cam York was on the ice.
No, and here's where I don't think you're completely wrong or completely off base with that. What I will say is two very different teams, where Minnesota is one of the best teams in the league right now, and they are that way for a reason, because they have big, strong forwards who drive through the middle of the ice. That is their plan of attack, and they do it consistently, and they've done it to a lot of teams, not just the Flyers.
Yeah.
Last night, I think, was a little bit different in that it was maybe the worst game I've seen them with the puck. The Flyers possessing the puck in any area of the ice, and that fed into what Detroit did last night. So I think it was the worst game they've played in quite a while, certainly from a puck management perspective, and I think that's sort of what led to a lot of what happened last night. I don't think you're wrong in saying that they have been, a little bit loose in their own end recently, and certainly, they do need to tighten that up to be more successful. But I think those two games, I think they're a little bit two different reasons for what happened.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Not a big surprise. Kolosov in net tonight. Back-to-back games. Obviously, Ersson's not going to play back-to-back games. It was interesting to hear, though, Torth say what he said about Ersson, too. Like, make some big saves, but he needs to make one more in his last few games. I've been saying to anybody who asks me, see if you feel the same way. Because people ask me, say, Ant, do you think that the Flyers are a playoff team? I said, I think they're close. I mean, the league is pretty mediocre.
Yes.
In general, right?
Eastern Conference.
Especially.
Outside of the top 5 or 6 teams. Yeah.
It's a lot of teams all kind of the same. But the difference is that between this year and last year is Flyers goaltending has been a little leakier this year.
Well, I think prior to the game in Boston where Ersson got hurt, they were very good. When he played, they were very good. Kolosov and Fedotov had their struggles. And then it's sort of when Sam went out, the Russian guys kind of found their footing a little bit more consistent ice time. And now Sam's come back, and he hasn't quite found that groove yet since he's come back in the lineup. And some of that might be Russ. Some of that goes back to the previous point where we're maybe a little bit loose in the defensive zone. I think a couple of those goals last night, certainly against Detroit, I mean, it's a 2-on-0, right? Like, nobody's making that save. So you kind of take a little bit of that into the equation. But however, I will say, there were a couple of those goals were stoppable. And the game against Minnesota, there were at least one or two more saves that could have been made that might have changed the tide of that game. Has Ersson been great since he's come back? No. Has he gotten back to the level he was before the injury? No. Can he get there? Yes. And it needs to happen relatively soon, though.
You heard it here first. The Flyers are going to trade Sam Ersson.
Yeah. You got something? Because I have one more.
Well, I mean, it's just to kind of build off of that, though. We've seen this pretty consistently all season. Some of these guys, for whatever reason, it takes them a while to kind of get back up, back to being ramped up, and you need more consistent playing time. Ersson will eventually get there. At least you would hope so. Fedotov and Kolosov had the team rolling. I think it's kind of hard to dispute that at this point. This kind of comes back to why it's so hard to try to rotate 3 goalies. Now, the Flyers aren't going to do that. They're not going to do it with Fedotov. But, like, if Ersson continues to struggle, then what? Like, what's the recourse? You're just going to keep trotting him out?
Well, I
Tortorella wants to win games. He was winning them with the other two, so, like, what's the thought?
He does, and I don't believe in his mind. Now, again, this is his opinion from my perspective, is if he believed that, I think you would have seen the goalies flip last night. I think you would have seen Kolosov go against Detroit if you really believed Kolosov gave them the best chance of winning. And what you would have seen tonight is maybe Sam starts, or maybe he decides Fedotov needs a game because it's been so long. I think he trusts in Ersson. I think this goes back to training camp last season when he said how much he was impressed by Ersson, his approach on the ice, more importantly, his approach off the ice. And he referenced it again today, his ability to self-evaluate and find and see the problems in his own game before the coaching staff says to him, hey, this needs to be better or that needs to be better. So I think he will ride with Sam Ersson until it is obvious to everyone that Sam Ersson is not the answer. And I don't think we're going to get to that point.
No.
But he does need to be better. But I think, and he has made it very clear, Sam Ersson is the number 1 goalie on this team.
Flyers are at Hockey 500, 14-14-4. And I love that that's become a phrase now, Hockey 500, because it's not real 500, because they've lost 18 games, not 14. But so they're a Hockey 500. But through 32 games, Adam, in the second period, they've been outscored 43-27. That's an incredible disparity for only 32 games into the season for one specific period to be outscored by 16 goals. Like, what do you think is – can you put your finger on anything with that second period? Why? Because they're a very good third period team. Yes. We see it all the time, right? They've had games, they've been a little bit, sporadic with the first period, but they've had some first periods been really good. Some maybe not so much, a little sleepy, but it's consistently bad in the second period.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on it. It's not like they change. The only thing that changes is the end of the ice.
Right.
And you could look at last night, the Detroit game, where they had the bad line change that led to the Kane goal. But there haven't been, an egregious amount of those where you would say, oh, they're doing it again. It's really hard to put your finger on why they have issues in the second period, because it's obvious, and it's been one of their things they've been consistent at is not playing well in the second period. When they outscore a team in the second period, you kind of take note of it because it's so rare. But I don't know if there's any one thing. I think there are times where a team will have an issue that defies explanation, and it's just one of those things that you just say, sports.
Maybe that's a stat for intern Andrew to look up.
Sports.
How many games this year have they actually outscored the opponent in the second period? And then after that, what's their record in those games?
Okay, I can find that for you.
Yeah, I think that's a good one because it might be a telling statistic. In all honesty,
won the second period, and then their record in those games.
Yeah, in the games that they won the second period.
All right,
there you go. Let's see if I can find it. Intern Andrew, research assistant there. Yeah.
The crack research team here at the Press Row Show.
Yeah, let's talk about the Kings because this is a good team.
Yes, it is.
They're I think 7-2-1 in their last 10, but they're not. I mean, two guys at the top are scoring. Anze Kopitar's maybe found the fountain of youth. He's never been a point per game player, and all of a sudden he's, I think, 36 points in 31 games or something like that.
I believe I looked, he's 1.13 per game at age 36 or 37. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's wild. And then obviously Adrian Kempe's had a really good season. I think he leads the team in goals with 16. But this team wins with good defense. This is a good defensive team. The Kings. They're going to be a little bit of a challenge for the Flyers, who sometimes are scoring challenged. Darcy Kemper's been really good for them in goal. Actually, both their goalies have been good, but Kemper was in tonight. What do the Flyers have to do to really kind of find their way against a really tough Kings team, who's, by the way, was sitting here in Philadelphia waiting for them because they played the other night, and they're coming off of a loss where they blew a game in Pittsburgh. They had a lead and lost in overtime.
They made that rough road trip from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia to come in. They had the day off yesterday, but they're in the middle of a 7-game road trip that I think they'll be, by the time it ends, they'll be on the road for 17 straight days.
Wow!
Started with 4 in the New York area, and now they've got 4 and 6 nights. This is the middle of that 4 and 6 nights. So they're in a little bit of a tired frame right now. They were here yesterday. They had some off ice work. A couple of guys skated here yesterday, but they've just been really trying to meter the ice time. I think, for the Flyers, they need to do something that they don't normally do, or they don't do enough of, which is get bodies to the net and get there consistently. Because while, yes, the Kings are a very good defensive team, they're not a big, imposing defensive team.
Right.
Their
size is up front.
Their top D pair right now with Drew Doughty out is Mikey Anderson and Vladislav Gavrikov. Now, Gavrikov, John Tortorella knows well from their time together in Columbus. But Gavrikov is big, but he's not a physically imposing guy. Right. And Mikey Anderson is not a physically imposing guy at all. So you need to then get bodies to the net to create havoc, because the Kings allow the fewest shots on goal per game in the league. So they obviously they're good at getting in lanes, they're good at blocking shots and shot suppression, but you kind of can work against that if you get bodies to the net and you're able to use your size, use your strength. Because look, Owen Tippett is not a small guy. Tyson Forrester is not a small guy. Travis Konechny is small, but he plays big. Sean Couturier has good size. You have guys who are capable of getting to the front of the net, causing havoc and creating second and third chance opportunities. You need to do that tonight, because if you're just going to try to bomb away from, low to high from the point, it's not going to work very well. So getting bodies to the net and kind of creating some issues, because Darcy Kemper has played well and he has a Stanley Cup, but when he won the Cup, he was far from the best player on that Cup team. He is good enough, but he's not what I would call a top-tier goaltender.
Yeah.
He can be beaten.
I have a stat of the night.
Go ahead.
Don't look at my screen.
All right.
Don't look at the comments.
Go ahead.
So we're talking about a little bit ago about how the Flyers get outscored in the second period. Would you believe that there are 5 teams in the league that are actually worse at scoring goals in the second period this season than the Flyers? There are 5 teams. Can you name them?
Say that again. What's the question again?
5 teams in the league that average fewer goals per second period this season than the Flyers.
Montreal, I think, is one.
It is not one.
No.
No.
How about Anaheim?
Anaheim is the worst in hockey. They average 0.57 goals per game in the second period.
That's terrible.
They are by far the worst.
I'll guess San Jose.
San Jose is not one.
Wow. Chicago?
Chicago is the second worst. They are 0.72. You have 3 to go.
Nashville?
Nashville is one. That is the third worst. The other two, the Flyers recently played one.
Rangers.
No. Detroit.
Really?
And the final one is a Western Conference team.
I'm going to go outside the box and say Colorado.
No.
I know they've had some issues. No?
Nope. A Western Conference team that won a Stanley Cup.
St. Louis.
Yes. Now, just to kind of emphasize the disparity, right? So right now, there are 16 teams in the National Hockey League that average a goal per game or more in the second period this season. And then there's this, it's not that much of a drastic drop-off for like the next 8 or 9, but then the bottom falls out. Anaheim is by far the worst
that's a
second
terrible
period.
number.
0.57 goals
That means
per
they get
second period.
one every other game.
It's that's an absurdly low number.
That's terrible.
So anyway, there you go.
There's a reason some teams are at the front of the room at the draft every year, as a wise scout once told me.
So there you go. Little stat of the night.
Interesting.
That's a Russ Joyce stat of the night, not an intern Andrew stat of the night.
This is what I'm here for. It's not just the good looks and the boyish charm.
You got a bottom third for that? Little sponsor? Russ Joyce stat of the night?
Yeah, we got a little lower third. Put that up on the
should do
screen.
it. Yeah. Anyway,
Sponsored by the Russ Joyce Show.
that's right. The Russ Joy Show tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Media critique coming tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
If you like Radio Wars, if you like Media Wars, I got you covered tomorrow. Anyway, Adam,
Yeah.
it's been a joy to have you as always.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's fun being here.
Let's everybody watch Adam get up because it's going to be a little bit of a chore.
It comes in phases.
So where are you the most sore right now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually better. Today's Thursday. This is the first. I was telling somebody earlier. This is the first day where I'm not in complete borderline agony. So this is good. This is better. What you're seeing now is better.
We went through this last year with Bundy when he played in the alumni game.
Oh yeah.
And then like the next couple games after that when he was here, he was suffering. And they weren't even going at top speed, right?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Oh, that's great. Adam Kimmelman, NHL.com. Love having you on, my friend. Thank you very much.
See you guys. Have fun.
Oh, by the way,
yes.
Since we probably won't have you on again before the end of the year, because there's only one more home game, and then Flyers go out on the road. Enjoy World Juniors.
Yes.
You get to go watch the World Juniors. 5 Flyers prospects up there, right?
It is my favorite time of the year, World Juniors, and this is the first for me. I'm actually going to get to cover the tournament in its entirety. All 12 days I will be up in Ottawa. I arrive on the 26th. I come back after the gold medal game on January 5th. All the games will be on NHL Network in the United States, TSN in Canada, so you will be able to watch all of your favorite prospects, including the Flyers. What do they got?
5,
Bonk,
right?
Bonk, Luchenko,
Luchenko.
Bjarnason for Canada, Berglund for Sweden, and Heikki Rahonen for Finland. So,
Yeah.
Adam, before you go, because we have people say, well, that's not the one. Oh, where did it go? Here it is. Daniel Mullane says, no trade talks with Adam K.
Well, the trade freeze is coming, right?
The trade freeze is coming.
These two teams were being rumored about having conversations potentially. Do you think anybody's going to be riding the team bus out of here?
I will say this. Every general manager is talking to every other general manager right now. If you can name a player, his name has come up in trade talks.
I tell people this all the time. Conversations are always happening. So that's why when you hear reports that, oh, these two teams were talking. Okay.
I think some of that might be a reference to something I posted earlier. The scouts that are here in attendance tonight, 2 of them from Colorado, 2 of them from St. Louis and Buffalo and Boston and Vegas.
York for McKinnon. You heard it here first.
Yeah. So I just throw that up there just because I know it feeds the feeds the machine. I don't know. They're here to watch the games. There's 5 games tonight. The scouts have to go somewhere. A lot of them are based in the Northeast. This is a really easy rink to get to.
Yep.
And
that's the thing. And people don't realize that when you say that. A lot of them are based in the Northeast. A lot of scouts are here because you can hit the Flyers, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Devils, the Capitals, all within a 2-hour train ride.
Not to mention a handful of American League teams as well.
Yeah, right.
So that's, you're close enough to Hershey, you're close enough to Lehigh, you're close enough to Bridgeport, to Hartford.
Yeah.
You can go and see within a 4-hour
Even Albany's
drive,
not far.
Within a 4-hour drive, you can get to 9, 10, 11 pro hockey teams and see everyone you could possibly want to see. So, yeah, when there's nothing else going on, they will come here and see the Flyers.
Right, and so that's why everybody gets fired up when they see that the scouts are there. And
that's why I put it up there, just to have fun and poke.
And you have a Western Conference team in here too, which makes it even more reason to watch.
For sure, because it's an opportunity where you might not have to get your top pro scout. Get these Western Conference teams on their eyes on them.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Well,
Adam,
thanks again, Adam.
All the best to you as you try some Epsom salts in the bathtub.
Yes. All right.
Let that mellow out the muscles.
Enjoy Ottawa, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Love having you on. Adam Kimmelman from NHL.com.
Now, listen. Here's
we have to do picks.
Well, I know. We'll get there in a second.
Okay.
I want to address the Ruggieri family here.
Okay.
Ciao. Buonasera. They ask, is this also going to be the game? The Ruggieri family, I don't think, has been here before to the Press Row show, so we'll give you a
How do you know
primer.
it's Joe?
Huh?
How do you know it's Joe?
What do you mean, Joe?
You said Joe. Ruggieri. You said Joe.
No, I didn't say Joe.
You just said Joe.
I did not say Joe.
You just said...
I said we're going to give a primer to the Ruggieri family. I said, yo.
Oh, yo.
I said, yo.
Yo. I said
you know
Joe.
what, though? Because there's like the Castellano accent where you do the Joe instead of the yes. So
Joe.
Pues.
Yeah, Joe.
Joe me llamo. Okay. Anyway. To the Ruggieri family, and to anybody who's new to the Press Row Show, this is the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, and north of the equator. We broadcast live from Wells Fargo Center. The organist, Mike, is right next to us, and in between us and him is intern Andrew. Bundy will be here shortly. We do pregame, intermissions, and postgame live from Wells Fargo Center. The game, however, I believe is on the Hulu Hoops.
Yeah, it's on
tonight.
Hulu tonight, yep.
But we do have a stat cast that runs throughout the game, so you can kind of still keep up with what's happening in the game if you haven't shelled out the money for the Hulu.
2-screen experience.
That's
you
right.
can have the game on your TV.
And the stats.
Leave the stats up on your
And you can interact
computer,
with other
phone,
Flyers fans.
Who are chatting.
Who needs a
during the
Discord
game.
when you have a YouTube comment section.
Exactly.
And then as soon as the period ends, we beat TV and radio to the punch.
Because we're
the first show to go live.
We're not on delay.
No delay. No delay here. That says 5 minutes and 20 seconds. To you, it would say 5 minutes and 28 seconds. We're actually coming to you from the future, if you think about it. Anyway, thanks for joining us, though. We hope you stick around.
We're coming from the future, or we're coming from the past?
We're coming from the future. To them, it's the past. We're ahead of what they see.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right. Right. Okay.
After all, there's only 6 more sleeps till Christmas. Babe.
What is your pick for the game tonight there, Russell?
Well, it's a good question, Anthony. It's Sexy Alexi in that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't call him Sexy Alexi, but somebody in the comment section on the Russ Joy Show once did.
Here's what we should do.
If he does a shutout, are you going to call him Sexy Alexi and you call him on Pattison?
No, if he ever goes back-to-back games where he's shuts a team out, we'll put a Sexy Alexi T-shirt in the Snow the
back-to-back
Goalie
shutouts.
in the Snow the Goalie store.
Sexy Alexi. Is it a pink shirt? Is it like a mid-flipping the hair back shirt?
Yeah,
it kind of has to be.
That's what it would be, yeah.
Is it like whenever somebody orders it, it has to play that riff from Careless Whisper? Right? Anyway. Intern Andrew will have to wear a Sexy Alexi shirt.
Never gonna dance again. Guilty feeling, got no rhythm. All right, what's your pick? I just sang it.
Well, look at Bundy dancing over here. He doesn't even know that we're doing Careless Whisper. All right, Bundy's about to head back over. There he is. To the Ruggieri family and to everybody who's new to the show, here he is. Number 6 in your program, number 1 in our hearts. Not Travis Sanheim. Chris Therien, Bundy's here. Bundy, we're about to do picks. How are you?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing great.
I was going to give Ann a heart attack. Aunt, you see this?
What am I looking at? Am I missing something?
Who wrote that?
I mean, you can see who tweeted it.
Are you serious?
No, it's a fake tweet. I messed with it.
Oh, okay.
I manipulated it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was going to mess with Ant, but then I realized that after the Kevin Hayes thing, it probably isn't a good idea. Anyway, we are here to do predictions. I think that, as they call him, Goalie the goalie, is going to have a nice reinsertion into the lineup, but I do think that this Kings team, despite the fact that they're tired, are going to walk away with a win. Skate away with a win, if you will. I see a 4-2 Kings win.
I don't know how tired they can really be. They had the night off yesterday. I know Adam said they're in the middle of a long road trip, but they were sitting here. The Flyers played yesterday and then traveled back. Granted, it was only from Detroit, but, you know, it's still, they don't get in until after midnight last night, and then they have to play again right away against a team that was already in town, rested and waiting. And we already talked about the fact that the Kings don't give up a lot of shots. They don't give up a lot of goals. Kemper's been really good for them this year. I'm going to go with the Kings as well, and I think it's a 4-1 Kings victory.
Flyers are mediocre at home, their record. LA's kind of mediocre on the road. They got a point in Pittsburgh the other night.
Yeah, but they blew that game.
I know they did.
Yeah.
I know they did. They still got a point, though, and they're going to be able to massage their brains with that for 48 hours. Like, we still got a point, even though it was a bad way to do it. I'm going with the Flyers tonight. 3-2 Flyers. Wow. 3-2 Flyers.
All right. Intern Andrew.
I will take the Kings 4-2.
Okay.
You took my score.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I didn't even notice that. I'm sorry.
Andrew Fawcett, I am more tired than the Flyers right now.
Yeah, well, we already talked about it. You drove 8 hours to get here, which is that's
An
dedication.
8-hour tour.
Can't miss work. Can't miss work.
Can't miss York. Oh, I thought you said can't miss York.
How was the ride,
Can't
though?
miss work. It was actually good. Like when I went up to the border, I drove right up to the border, 10 seconds.
Did Trudeau retire? Did he resign while you were up there or no?
No.
No?
No.
Close, sir.
He did not, no.
Getting close.
He was up there. It was close. And literally, like, my home is a 5-minute drive to the front door of Parliament Hill.
Really?
I mean, not 10, 5 minutes. And so all the hoopla was happening the night I drove in on Monday. So, anyway, whatever. Canadian politics.
Hey, Bundy, I forget. When is Tire Day in Canada?
Oh, that's for the tires for your insurance.
Yeah, when is that?
I don't know. You have to do it before.
It's soon, right?
You have to do it by a certain date. And what happens I found out if you get into an accident, then your insurance won't cover unless you have your snow tires. You have to have winter tires, you get a fine for it.
That's craziness. Snow tires.
It was last Friday.
Oh, we missed it.
It was last Friday.
Oh,
Do you remember how last year you did a whole big rant about it?
Well, I'd never heard of anything quite like that in my life. Like, I mean, so are people getting, like, schnookered? Because what I used to hear are all-season tires, right?
Yeah, all season, yeah.
So now they're like, oh, no. We have a winter tire and a summer tire. And you better get both of them because they're super important.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm thinking to myself, what politician has a family member in the tire business?
That's right. That's the tire lobby, the Canadian tire lobby.
Something crazy.
Somebody's got to stop Big Rubber. All right, we'll talk to all of you in the first intermission. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. The Philadelphia Flyers and the Los Angeles Kings are tied 1-1 after 1. The Kings get a goal on a nice little breakaway. I'll move it to the backhand. But the Flyers are undeterred. And who should step up in a moment where the team needed him the most? The guy that we all expected to score a goal tonight on a beautiful backhand, Noah Cates.
Two beautiful backhands that period. One by Kevin Fiala, the other one by Noah Cates. Couple
nice play by Bobby Brink.
Great play
along
by
the
Brink.
wall,
He
right?
drew two guys, went to him. Really bad job in terms of picking up one man, and then Brink made just a good effort, threw the puck into the middle of the ice. Along comes Noah Cates, makes a good play. I think Kemper thought he was going to go 5-hole, and he didn't. He ended up beating him to his glove side. Really good goal. That was actually not a bad period. Pretty good period both ways, I think. LA had some chances. They're a good team, and I thought the Flyers had some chances too. Pretty balanced period, I thought, both ways.
No, definitely was. I thought Kolosov made a couple of nice saves early. Really, Flyers didn't really. They got 4 quick shots in like the first 5 minutes on Kemper, and then didn't really have another one again, I think, until Cates' goal.
Yep.
I think they went there was like a drought there, and then once the goal happened, they seemed to get several chances. They almost had an opportunity to score again on a pseudo 2-on-1 with
Tippett, right?
Tippett and Mishkov, and the pass was broken up. I didn't see which Kings player broke it up.
A nice play. It was a reverse 2-on-1 where there was a backtracker.
Yeah.
And the guy got one stick on it and just pushed it enough out of the way. Mishkov couldn't get the handle on it.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty much it. If you're looking for a negative, when you look at the Kings' goal, I think that Jamie Drysdale got caught a little flat-footed on that, and he has a tendency, I think, both when he's in at the blue line in the offensive end, and also when he's at the blue line when they're playing, they're through the neutral zone, to kind of get caught in those spots. Like his feet aren't always moving, Bundy, and I think that's probably one of the things that they, have been trying to get him to do a little bit better.
Stands still too much, and he stands still too much in the neutral zone.
Yeah.
And even in the corners sometimes. He's got to have a little bit of jump ready to go every single time rather than just being flat-footed.
Right. And that's kind of when you hear Tort say you need to be up on your toes, checking forward. Like you got to be skating, move your feet. You can't stand still on the ice. And I think that sometimes he gets caught watching a little bit. And I think he got caught watching on the Fiala goal.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
That's exactly it. It was a play up the middle. The guy streaked through the middle. Drysdale was caught flat-footed. Sanheim was on the inside. It was a wide open pass up the middle, and Drysdale almost had him. He got a stick on him, but Fiala just made the quick deke at the last second to beat Kolosov.
Hey, Ant, the Phillies made 2 acquisitions here in the last 20 minutes.
I saw one of them, Max Kepler.
Max Kepler.
Yeah.
How about that?
Who else you got?
Nick Vespi.
Oh, that was earlier today.
Yeah.
That was earlier. Nick Vespi was lefty from the Orioles.
Very
relief
exciting.
pitcher.
Dumpster diving, as we call it.
Yeah.
Max Kepler, that's an
underwhelming.
Hell of a.
Vespi is actually a nice. It's a minor league contract with an
Max Kepler, though.
That's
a hell of an answer to the Juan Soto sign.
Spring training.
Boy, oh boy, splurge the money while you got it.
That was Jody Clark, by the way, waving to us.
I didn't pay attention, but
I
Jody.
Yeah, it was Jody. Yeah.
Phillies are going to run it back, aren't they? Max Kepler. Hey, Bundy, I know that you're a Yankees guy, and that's okay.
I like Cody Bellinger.
Yeah. The Phillies just. Okay.
Let me ask intern Andrew if he got the stat that I asked him to get pregame. Were you able to dig that up?
Oh,
Is
no.
Ant?
I didn't know you were still.
That's okay.
Looking for it.
That's all right because
I could find what their record was.
No,
when
it's all right. Intern Adam Kimmelman got it for us and sent it over.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, intern Adam.
All right.
Intern Adam said Flyers have outscored teams in the second period only 7 times entering tonight. They are 4-3 in those games.
Well,
that doesn't really tell you much about the record, but they've only done it 7 out of 30.
Here's another
throughout tonight's 33. So
here's
7
another
out of 32.
interesting stat, Andrew. I'm not going to jump on your stuff, but I actually pulled this stat earlier.
Okay.
LA is 9-0-1 when they score a power play goal.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a stat for you.
I hope they score a power
the Flyers. The Flyers when trailing. The Flyers when trailing after 2. 4, 12, and 1.
That's actually good.
What's that?
The Flyers
that's
are
actually
when
good.
When the Flyers are trailing after 2 periods, they are 4, 12, and 1.
That is good.
That is actually good.
5 games, you come back and get points when you're down after 2 periods. That's pretty
now,
good. Actually.
The Flyers, when conceding the first goal this year, let me see. Hold on. I'll come back to this. Never mind. Ignore me for now.
That's an easy thing to do.
I know.
So, all right, well, why don't we go to intern Andrew's stat of the game, stat of the night?
Sure. I don't know if it'll be as exciting as those, but so the goal scored in that period.
Do we have to bring him up on the screen here?
The Flyers are 4 and 11 this season when they concede the first goal.
Oh, that's not the right view.
That's good.
It's this one.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
The goal scored for the Flyers in that period was by 25-year-old Noah Cates, assisted by 23-year-old Bobby Brink and 22-year-old Tyson Forster, which means now that the Flyers have 135 combined points by players aged 25 or younger, which is 3rd in the NHL, trailing only Montreal and Buffalo. That was all.
Oh, I forgot. It's the stat. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not trivia.
That's a good stat.
That's a good stat.
Thank you.
So,
how would you like to be a Buffalo Sabre right now?
Say that again, intern Andrew.
Flyers have 135 points by combined points by players 25 years old or younger.
135, you said?
Yes, that's.
He's writing this down to use for the AP story.
3rd in the league. Montreal right now
he
has
should really just
146.
he should start cutting you in on like the pay that he gets from the AP.
Yeah, maybe.
If you're going to be the crack stat team that ends up,
I think I've used 1 so far this year, just so you know.
Did you see a kickback on that?
It was a damn good one, though.
Yeah. Montreal, go ahead.
And Buffalo.
Yeah, but how many does Montreal have?
146 and Buffalo 145.
Okay.
Did I tell you guys how little I care about the Rangers' doldrums right now?
He did not.
I don't care.
Okay, good to know.
Thank you.
No more capo.
I mean, you got to talk about teams going through stress right now. The New York Rangers are going through more stress than any team in the league because they think like they had a decent start.
Yeah.
And the wheels are totally off. They're revolting against their GM, trading players left and right. One player barks about something, you're traded. And then Buffalo, who thought they were turning the corner, is just
They're Buffalo.
Buffalo's lost 11 in a row. The Rangers 11 of 14, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to race to the bottom.
Well, I don't know if the Rangers are going to go that far.
No, I'm saying it's going to be hard to race to the bottom. There's a lot of parity in this league, and the worst teams are going to set themselves apart.
Well,
in a vastly
Chicago and
way.
Nashville, I think, are already ahead of the pack in that regard. They're pretty far. But I think the rest of the league is all within the rest of the mediocrity in the NHL.
And I don't think Nashville's a bad team either.
They're not. They're just
can't find a way.
24 points. So Nashville and Chicago, 24 points entering tonight. San Jose has played 2 more games. They have 3 extra points, 27. Buffalo has also played 32 games, 26 points. Montreal, Columbus, 27 and 29 respectively. Anaheim, 28 points in 30 games.
Hey.
And then your team, your town, the Philadelphia Flyers, 32 in 32.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just interesting. Like, I don't know. It's what an 8-point spread is what separates the Flyers, who kind of look like quasi bubble-ish team, at 11th worst record or the 11th fewest points, and then your Chicago's and Nashville's that have the fewest in the league. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Look at goal differential. That's where you're gonna. That's where you're gonna find where it separates. That's.
You want me to pull goal differential?
Well, no, I'm
right
just
now?
saying it's right. It was right there. You had it up on the screen just a second ago.
Did I?
You can see every team's goal differential over on the right. They're in green, or if they're in the plus.
No. That's their record. You need to get those glasses checked, baby cakes.
Well, it's on an angle. I can pull it up on the app.
Who's the goal differential that you want?
I think the Flyers are minus 15 coming in tonight, correct?
They are, yes.
This is another interesting stat, though. You know, again, Flyers have just 7 regulation wins.
Yes.
I can give you a really positive stat. The Flyers are tied with 4 other teams for the most wins this season when trailing with 5 or fewer minutes remaining in the game.
Their 7 regulation wins are the lowest in the NHL.
We have so many freaking stats tonight.
Lowest. No team's got fewer.
We have so many stats.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
What's happening to us tonight?
That shows you the parity in the league, though, how tight it is. You know?
San Jose also has 7, so they're tied for the lowest.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. No, they don't. See, oh, yeah, they do.
He did say it, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, Flyers are minus 15. But, I mean, if you really look at it, like, the top teams right now in goal differential in the NHL, Winnipeg is plus 36. Washington, surprisingly, plus 35. Tampa, plus 32. Devils and Carolina, 27, 25, and then Dallas, 21. No one else is above 20.
Wow.
And then on the other side, it's like first of all, there's 16 teams that are a minus goal differential in the NHL. 14 plus. It's wild.
All right, here I'm going to give you a fun little. I'm going to give you a fun betting stat
18,
now. You ready?
14, whatever it is.
You want a nice little betting stat, and we'll see if it lines up with where the teams are in terms of like the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the Flyers have the 11th fewest points. Correct? We just said that they have the 11th fewest points in the league. They have been the underdog, the pre-live money line underdog in 23 of 32 games this season, which is the 10th most games as the underdog entering play. So their points versus like what the results have been have effectively kind of lined up pretty well. But like the Nashvilles of the world that have been so wildly underwhelming, Nashville has only been the underdog entering the game 13 times in 32 games. So what do you attribute that to?
Nashville was a team that was expected to be a lot better than they are. Than the record shows, anyway.
Yeah, they made a huge signing of Stamkos. Like, they thought they were just adding a piece or two, but they just can't get their stuff together.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised that Nashville's record is what it is.
This game is an ESPN stream game tonight. How is the broadcast tonight, everybody?
People are disappointed.
Everybody's angry about it, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, we're not hearing it. So.
I'm not. Right. We get the beauty of listening to ourselves, hang out together, and watch hockey. We do not have to listen to any broadcast ever, except when they're home on the road. Horrible.
Yeah, everybody says it's bad. You know what was fun last night?
What was that?
The Jonesy popped into the broadcast booth last night for about 5 minutes. I think it was either late first period or early second period to give a little gift to Kenny Albert for his 500th NHL game that he had broadcasted.
They're giving broadcasters trophies now?
Well, I think Jonesy just wanted to be back
nice
with his guys.
Yeah, okay.
Because remember, he was part of that broadcast,
yes, of course,
right?
Yeah.
You know, with those guys. So it was like old home week. So yeah, he popped in there with Edzo and Kenny Albert, and Bush was down between the
Bush
glass.
was between the glass.
Yeah, so it was like, and Jonesy was in there, but he bailed. Like, he answered a couple questions, and he was like, all right, boys, I'm out. Like, they wanted him to stay, and he was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out of here.
You know what would be interesting? Can you imagine if we got to do this show, and then during the periods, it was just the radio feed? Wouldn't that be a great world to live in?
Would be a great world to live in. We should talk to somebody about that.
I wonder how the fans out there would feel. Hey, everybody, let us know.
Put in the radio feed here during the periods?
Yeah.
So when they're looking at the stats, you can listen to the game,
it would be an all-in-one place. Let us know in the comments. Is that something that you would like to see this season or next? What if you had the Press Row Show pregame, intermissions, and postgame, and then you had the Flyers game? And then you wouldn't have to really do much in the way of commercials either, because we would just do the show.
That's right.
All right, anyway.
Food for thought.
For thought. And I'm a hungry boy.
Just watching my son over there throwing down a Mick Ultra.
That's a Michelob Ultra.
It looks like you could get like 4 hands on that, and it still wouldn't cover the whole beer. God, I'm glad I stopped.
Good on you.
Man, they make everything bigger now.
Yeah, I know, right? It's huge.
Wider, bigger, taller.
Huge. Yeah. It's unreal.
You know what? We were talking a little bit ago about New York. Brian C. asks, what do you guys think about the Kakko trade?
Well, that's what Bundy was talking about.
Bundy doesn't care.
Oh, he basically they went up to him and said, why are you sitting? He goes, because the GM and the coach don't have any other way to do it except pull some young guy out of the lineup. Like, when you start talking like that, you're speaking for the room. You're not speaking for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
There's major problems in New York. I've seen this stuff before. It's a nasty, nasty little problem.
I don't know
they may find their way out of it, but I don't know how much damage is going to be inflicted by the time they do.
They have enough talent to find their way out of it, and I wonder if Lavi survives if they don't get going soon.
I was just going to ask.
You know the
about-
problem?
yeah.
I love Lavi. First, as a person, I think
Yeah,
like
he's a
Lavi
great
was
guy.
a good guy, good friend of mine too. Problem with Lavi, he's the opposite of Chief Berube. All he teaches is offense. Lavi will tell you to your face, I don't teach defense, I do offense. That's what I do. The problem with that is why the Rangers are 15, and whatever with the best goalie in the league, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because they don't commit defensively. They're all trying to win games. Zibanejad, he couldn't check a coat right now. He couldn't.
I know. He's on my fantasy team.
No, he doesn't.
He's struggling.
He doesn't want to. He couldn't. It's unbelievable. He's not the only one. They have a group of guys like that, and I'm telling you, I don't know how much damage they're going to self-inflict before they figure it out.
Well, here's the question though: how long, like, how much leash do you think they're going to give to Lavi at this point? Like, is it a situation where they have the talent to get out of it, so he might get more than you would expect just because you want him to be the coach if they go on a playoff run, or
it's
what?
only his second year there.
It is.
Like I think he signed a 4-year contract.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to eat. I think he stays for at least the rest of the season.
The GM, as someone said here, the GM may end up going before the coach.
This could be like it was with Hextall back in 2018, where the GM goes before the coach. Just saying.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of upset Ranger
Well, I'll
fans,
tell you what,
to say the least.
if the GM were working for All City, never mind, it doesn't matter.
Oh no.
They would have fired him the week before Christmas because that's what good companies do, apparently.
8:30 tomorrow morning, baby.
8:30 tomorrow. I'll break all that down. Hey, but don't worry, their CEO claims that it's not going to impact any of those people's holidays.
That's awful.
I'll have that breakdown tomorrow.
That's awful.
I hope that
I
everybody
feel
who
so
still
bad
works
for
for that
their-
company,
You're gonna have to fill me in at the breaks. I have no idea what you're talking
I
about.
hope all of the people who have jobs there are comfortable and are safe. We wish the best for them.
I feel
but I
so
hope
bad
they're
for all
all
those
getting their
people.
resumes ready to go find a better place to work. A company that would lay you off a week before Christmas and then publicly go out and say, well, it's not going to impact their holidays because they're going to get a month's severance.
That's
Again,
unbelievable.
That's what the CEO did yesterday.
Yeah, that's great.
He put that on Twitter.
Put it on
He
Twitter.
honestly put it on Twitter.
I'm going to break it down on my show tomorrow.
It's been a
But
rough
we'll
month
get back
for
to the
CEOs.
yeah. All right,
And with that,
we'll be back second intermission. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. And the Flyers and the Kings rack up, well, goals in that period. Now, it should have been a Flyers lead entering the third, and we talked about the success the Flyers have had after 2 periods this season. But no.
It was almost their 8th second period of the season that they won. As it turned out, it ended up being a tie in the period.
As intern Andrew has now coined him, Cola Siv lets another weak one in, reaches for the puck, misses, can't get the foot in the way. Bundy, I want to go to you first. How demoralizing of a goal is that to give up?
That's a brutal goal. I mean, the puck was right there. All he had to do was just keep his eyes laser focused on the puck, and it would have just rolled right into his glove, except he missed it, took his eyes off it. And, I mean, a guy like Kopitar, I mean, Anthony could have scored that. No offense there, buddy.
No, I could have.
It's the truth. You could have just tapped that little baby in there.
Yes, I could have scored that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And could have tapped it. That's what he said. He said he could have tapped it in.
Oh, man.
Yep.
A little taparoo.
Chris Fried is saying that Drysdale is this generation's Terry Karkner.
Well, Karks wasn't supposed to be an offensive power play defenseman. I mean, Karks is just a big, tough, hard-nosed defenseman.
Yeah.
Is the honeymoon over now between the Flyers fans who are really excited about Jamie Drysdale in his first couple of games back? Has that ended? I
think he's been horrible.
Right.
He's not as bad as he was to start the season, but it doesn't feel like the confidence that he initially came back into the lineup with is still there. He's still making some of those mistakes that he made early in the season that it seemed like they were kind of covering up when he got back.
I will say the first couple games that he got back after being on injured reserve for as long as he was were really good. Like, he really jumped up. He was up in the play. He was creating chances. He was getting shots on net, which was something that was an issue on the power play before he was hurt. But I think you're right, Russ. I think the last a handful of games, he's not been bad, but he's not had that same kind of level of confidence that he had in those first couple of games back.
And with that in mind, to me, that tells me that he is maybe one of those guys who, for better or worse, and I would say definitely for worse, if he's going to be a guy that's going to totally flow based on his confidence, that is not going to be a good thing here. Especially with the kind of short leash that this coach will give you from time to time, and how much he likes to tinker.
There's no time, really. I mean, the problem is you're in a battle for points, and so you have to be very, very, you have to be really on your game, and making sure you know what you're doing. I know a couple of words on Sanheim too. He's played really well this year. I don't think he had a great start, but in the middle games, like those 15 or 18 games he played after the first 10, he was great.
Yeah. He's
not played well the last 3 games a little bit.
No.
Now, I don't know if it's because he's out of rhythm with York, he's playing with Drysdale. I'm not really sure.
He seems to be a guy who needs that kind of comfort level partner.
Yes.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, when he was playing with Ristolainen, that's when he started to play really well. That's right at the beginning of that stretch, and then he was great for, like you said, 18, 20 games, whatever it was. He got put back with York, and he was okay, not bad, but he was fine. And then York has not been great the last few games, and maybe that's impacted Sanheim a little bit. And now you're playing him with Jamie Drysdale, and it kind of sticks out a little bit more.
Sticks out like a sore thumb,
to
be honest with you.
Yeah.
Drysdale's biggest flaw is his flat-footedness.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about it, Anthony. He made a great pickup on that, and just noticing the plays. He gets stuck standing still. The play develops so quickly. Guys will get behind him. He'll get stuck sometimes in front of the net with his feet just planted flat on the ice. You got to be on your toes. That's what I always say, be on your toes.
Yeah.
That's what that means, being on your toes.
Is that a result of a guy trying to let the game come to him? Is that a guy who's just not getting himself actively involved in the play? Is it because of a lack of confidence that now he's more of a spectator than he is actively involved in the play?
If you watch,
why does a defenseman end up flat-footed like that?
If you watch Drysdale's game, it's very uneven because there's plays where he'll pinch and it's a good pinch and he'll make a good play, and then there's other times where let's say a flip puck in the neutral zone, he has trouble reading the play in terms of what to do. You know, when a puck's coming back to you as a defenseman, you have to already, before the puck gets to you, process what you think you're going to do with it. It's all reading and then in processing, and that's especially for a defenseman because things happen so fast. Guys get on you. You're the brunt of the first hit. You know, if there is one.
Yeah.
And so that's why you got to be really up on reading the play big time.
And I think that might be impacting Sanheim a little bit because you've said in the past, Bundy, and I think you're pretty spot on with this with Sanheim. There are times when he doesn't know who he is as a player. Right? In his game. Like, are you going to be the offensive guy? Are you going to be the defensive stalwart? What are you? Like,
I couldn't agree more.
Right?
With you.
You've said it. I'm stealing it from you.
Yeah.
And I think that when you play with Drysdale, you are more unsure of what you should do.
Because he's trying to play the same game. Like Sanheim sometimes now, like he's a rover sometimes.
Yeah.
They've told him, get down behind the net, join the rush, be a fourth guy. Don't worry about anything else. And there's times like he's down around the net handling the puck and trying to make a play. But you got to have the right partner for that.
Right.
You know, you got to know that partner and another center iceman on that shift. So when I play, I'll give you like Desjardins. When I play with Desjardins, obviously Desjardins was a world-class player,
right.
and no doubt about it. But we glued together well. You know, and he'll tell you that. He'd say the best partner I ever had was me.
Right.
Because we just worked well together, you know, and so that's part of what it is. Desjardins had a little bit more leeway to go up where I'd protect the middle of the ice. We had big, good centers like Primo and Lindros, who we often on the ice with, and you could rely on those guys as well to pick up defensively for you as well.
Yeah.
But you can't be a roving defenseman if you don't know you have the backup there for you.
And I think he gets caught in between at times, Sanheim,
right.
doing that, right? Not sure exactly what he wants to do. That period, that I will say, and it's funny because my son is here with my
that's great.
With my daughter's boyfriend, who's from LA. He's a big LA Kings fan. We're standing over there talking.
We like him. He's
Kevin.
fine.
He's good. He's good kid. Anyway, and so Anthony Jr. says to me, he's like, you know who I haven't liked this year? Tyson Forster, and then he goes and scores 2 goals.
Yeah,
That's why your son is a baseball analyst and not a hockey one.
Tyson Forster, I'll give him credit. You know, like he parked himself in front of the net.
Yeah.
Both goals were just effort goals. You know, one of them he made the second goal he got, he spun around on Edmondson, who's a veteran defenseman, got himself a passing lane, and a nice, beautiful feed by Morgan Frost. Who, you know, it's funny. You don't notice him a lot, but you sure notice him on that one play.
Yeah.
Frost made that beautiful pass out, but. Yeah, Flyers had good control until that just awful goal Kolosov led, and you cannot allow a goal like that inside the last
And
minute.
it's not just Forster, though. That whole third line, I think, has been very noticeable tonight. Obviously, Kate scores the goal on the play by Brink along the wall with 2 guys on him. Forster's got 2 goals. I know the one was a power play. That's the pass from Frost. That line, that third line, has been really good for the Flyers in this game.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
I actually think the fourth line has played well also, so... You know, they're getting some good contributions, secondary scoring. I mean, can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of guys producing and stuff. So,
and especially against a team that's as good as LA is.
Yeah, I thought Owen Tippett's played well tonight.
Yeah.
He's on his horse. He's skating well.
He had that one opportunity, I think it was in the first, right? It was a 2-on-1.
With Mishkov.
Yeah, where he had the opportunity to shoot. And, a few games ago, he would have been ripping that one. He tried to make the nice back post.
It was a nice back check on that.
You know who
play.
looks tired tonight?
Who's that?
Mishkov.
Yeah.
Yeah?
He looks really gassed tonight, yeah.
Well, you play back-to-back sometimes.
Yeah,
it's 20 years old. You got to get used to it.
It's hard, yeah, absolutely. That's why I pointed it out, because that's a learning curve fatigue game for him.
Yeah.
Just getting used to playing those games like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what time it is. I'll tell you who doesn't get fatigued. I'll tell you who was strong on back-to-backs. And that, of course, is intern Andrew, who we're going to bring on here for one of everyone's favorite segments on the show. It is the second period, and that, of course, means it's time for trivia time with intern Andrew. You have the song ready for him? Go ahead.
You got to do the music.
You do the song. You got to do the lyrics. I'll do the trumpet.
It's time for intern Andrew trivia.
Intern Andrew right now. I know it's on his mind right now. It's not trivia. You know that? I know what's on your mind. A noon game on Saturday is on your mind right now. You're getting ready to watch that. You wish they had the Pony Express at SMU. You don't know who they are.
No, he has no idea who the Pony Express is.
Eric Dickerson and Craig James.
Oh! Look at
You
that.
are the
Duck
man.
down.
You're lucky that Penn State ain't playing them
Look
two.
at-
They run all over
wait
them.
a second.
They
Wait,
run for
wait,
400 yards
wait,
on them.
Wait. You know Eric Dickerson and Craig James.
That's
but you
unbelievable.
didn't know Peter Forsberg was drafted by the Flyers.
I'm better at football history than I am with hockey history.
He just pulled like an old-time 80s, like an 80s play.
I'm stunned he knew the answer to that.
That is the most confident I have ever seen intern Andrew look.
You know what else I'll tell you, Andrew?
if he had told
The
that
two
when-
highest paid athletes in football that year.
Dickerson,
Anywhere in North America.
Dickerson took a pay cut to go to the NFL.
Yes, he did.
That's good. That's good. All right.
all right, intern.
What do you got for us?
All right, so I think this question is appropriate since we are in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
Yeah.
And once upon a time, the Flyers had two brothers that played together here, Braden and Luke Shen, who played here for about 3.5 years. For Luke, in January of 2016, was traded to the Los Angeles Kings. Who was the other Flyer that was involved in that deal, and who did the Kings send back?
That's a really good question, and I don't know the answer. When you say it, I'll be like, oh, man.
What's his name? Came back, I think. Was Jordan Wheel?
Gordon Wheel is correct.
Yeah.
Jordan Wheel did. Jordan, by the way,
The wheel deal.
I promise you, if you are new to the show or
Yes.
you weren't with us in like the first year or two of doing the show, there is an episode in the podcast archive. It might actually be in the YouTube channel somewhere, but it's definitely in the podcast archive. Go out of your way to find the episode with Jordan Wheel, where he tells the story about playing.
It was in junior hockey.
It was junior hockey.
Yeah.
And he told the story about his favorite place to play. And a man took off his prosthetic leg and chugged a beer out of it during a playoff game.
Yes.
Good for him.
Go back and listen
What
to
a
that.
story.
I promise
What a
you
story
that
that
show
was.
is so worth listening
Yeah, Jordan
to.
Wheel was a great interview. Talked a lot about his
Yo.
where growing up in Vancouver, just outside of Vancouver,
Do you
some
remember
good
the
places
thing
to
that
eat.
was funny about him, though? We had video guy Craig was there.
Yeah, yeah.
And Jordan Wheel did not want the interview on video, and then he was worried the whole time about his hair.
Yeah.
Yep. So we gave him a second to style it for the
wheel?
static image. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so then we got to figure
so-
out. We got to figure out who the other Flyer was that went to L.A. in
Oh,
the
I
deal.
know. You know what?
Correct.
I know. Huh? I actually know who it is. It was a big name, wasn't it?
He was a big name on a
Oh,
previous
Vinny
team.
LeCavalier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks
that's
for the assist.
right.
Got
Yeah, I
it.
remember.
That
I remember,
is
'cause
right.
I remember they were just trying to dump two
Dump
veterans
salary.
in one.
Right.
Yeah,
They
it
were
was a
trying to
salary
dump the salary. I forgot about that.
That's right.
Yeah, good
That was
question.
good. That was good.
Really good.
Vinny
Really good.
LeCavalier goes down. All right, guys, let's come up with
By the way,
the best comparisons.
Good
guys,
dude. Really good. I know you're
Vinny
going to say
LeCavalier
bad.
was?
Yeah,
no, I
I know
wasn't going to say that at all.
It was because he was a bust here. There's no question
who's
about
that?
it.
Who are some other
Vinny?
Vinny, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Let's think-
he was a good guy.
Good guy.
Really
Great,
good guy.
Super guy.
guys
yeah.
who had great careers on other teams came here at the very end of their career and just weren't the same? I have one for you. Chris Webber.
Oh, you're-
All-time
you're-
great Sacramento King.
You're talking
comes to
any.
the Sixers.
You're talking about
Yeah,
any sport.
I'm
Okay.
saying for any sport, any Philly team.
Chris
you-
Webber was a Sixer. Huh?
Chris
Yeah.
Webber was, yeah. For I think it was a year and a half. Remember, he and Allen Iverson no-showed fan appreciation night.
Yeah, that's
where they
right.
showed up super late.
Yeah.
So I actually
well,
had a kid's Chris Webber jersey.
I have a perfect one.
All right.
Julio Jones.
Howard Chuck. Actually, Howard
Julio
Chuck
Jones
was
is
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
DeMarco Murray.
Well, Howard Chuck was actually
Although
pretty good.
DeMarco Murray
Howard
had
Chuck
another year
opened our
in
offense
Tennessee.
up my second year. Like we came
Yeah, he
here,
was good here.
He was good here. Yeah.
I mean, it's the
Howard
end of
Chuck.
his career, but he was still pretty good.
Yeah, Adam Oates was still
Oates.
good here too, but we just gave up too much for him.
Yeah.
And that's all anybody remembers.
And it
He
was a
three
short,
firsts.
Yeah, and it was a short playoff run, right? It was
I
a-
don't-
Really short.
That was
You know-
against Ottawa. That was a year that you only scored 2 goals in 5 games,
Yeah,
correct?
it was a lot of fun.
We love Greg from Vineland, but this is
They
off-
forgot
this
to
is-
they
this is
forgot
off
to
base.
unleash me that year, Ant.
Greg is very off base here.
Paul Coffey was a good one.
Pronger
That's
is
a
not
good
a
one.
good
No,
example.
Pronger's a great. He was a great here.
Pronger
he
was
great here.
fantastic here.
Yeah.
He just had a
The
freak
reason-
injury.
Paul
The
Coffey
reason-
was done.
Yeah, Coffey was at the end. Coffey was at the end.
Would you include Pedro Martinez in that or no?
Pedro was okay down the
Yeah.
stretch. He just had a really
He
rough.
ran out of gas in the World Series.
Yo, Pedro came out looking like he saw a ghost.
Yeah, he ran out of gas in
He
the World
looked-
Series.
He was sick too in that World Series start, right? And then Charlie was like, "Well, we gotta go with the guy who been there.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
there's
doing real good."
you can go a lot of guys. I mean, geez.
Oh, Daryl Sittler is actually a good
Oh,
pull,
that's
too.
a great
That's
one.
a great pull.
That's a
by,
great pull, Brad.
yeah.
Daryl Sittler. Yeah.
He was awful.
Yeah.
And guys that played with him, Rick Tocchet played with him. He said it was so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really, really good one.
All right, how about the flip side of it? Guys who were really good elsewhere came here for like let's say a year and had an impact. Yager had a nice impact. is a short tenure. Who are some other guys you can think of? Like a one-ish year.
How
tenure.
short?
Say like about a year.
It's only one season.
If you want to go to 2, that's fine.
Jay Ajayi.
Jay Ajayi had a nice impact. Yeah.
Namdi Asamoah.
No, that was a bad. Stop it. He's actually a good example of one that was really good elsewhere and sucked here.
He was terrible.
He
here.
was the worst.
Which then
Eagle I've ever seen.
you can add Byron Maxwell.
I think he's the only defensive back I've ever watched that was afraid to tackle.
Namdi and
he
Byron
came
Maxwell.
here as the most heralded guy. Like he was supposed to be a game changer.
Yeah.
Would Forsberg count?
How long was Forsberg's tenure in Philly?
Forsberg was unbelievable here.
He's so good.
His first year here, that line with Forsberg, Gagne, and Knubel was
Forsberg was my first
unreal.
ever hockey jersey.
That line was so good. It's a shame that they didn't have good defensemen that year.
He was unbelievable.
Because that 05-06 team, that was your last season, right?
Yeah.
That team was really good. I just said it's a shame they didn't have good defensemen here, but
I was here. Yeah, thanks, Ed. Too bad we had crappy reporters that year too.
Well, you know what it was, Bundy? You know what it was? It was the first year out of the lockout, and you guys still had a bunch of guys who played.
We were playing like the same rules.
Yeah, but the old rules.
Yeah,
and
I was one of them.
Yes, you and Rathje and Hatcher.
Yeah.
Like it was just a bunch of big physical guys in a game that was changed for all the small, fast guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were still a good team.
We're all right. Yeah. It's a shame we went out pretty quick that year in the playoffs.
You got Buffalo.
Yeah.
It was 6 games, right? It was a 6-game series.
Yes.
So, all right.
That was good. Hey, that was a nice second period show. Nice second intermission.
It was. And Bundy, listen, you took you're a trooper. You spent 8 hours in the car coming back and visiting your folks up in Ottawa.
Yep.
And, you made it here in time for the game. We appreciate your dedication, but we're going to say, go home and get some rest.
I'm going to go home and get some rest now.
Russ and I will take it from here.
Stick taps for Bundy.
Stick taps. Stick taps for Bundy.
Glad to be here tonight. You know, it actually feel good coming out. It would have really stunk if I just hung around the hacienda. That would have just been brutal. I'm actually glad I came and got inspired a little bit more energy.
There you go.
Good time.
There
guys.
you go.
Good time.
Be safe getting home, pal.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate
We will see you on Saturday.
We'll be here Saturday. Is that our Christmas game?
That's our Christmas game.
That's our Christmas game. We're intern Andrew. Let's bring him back here for a second. Intern Andrew, what are you dressing up as on Saturday?
I'm bringing back the OG elf costume.
The elf?
Yeah.
And
Will you have a poem?
I will have a poem.
An elf and a poem. I love it.
First 5 minutes, Russ. I'll leave that with you guys. It's going to be important. This is a critical first 5.
Is this going to be next goal wins?
Yep.
It feels like it's been that way all year.
Sure, next goal wins, yeah.
I'm with that. I agree.
Kolosov back in net, if anyone was wondering.
I'm not surprised.
Go back to Coley the goalie. All right, we will be back here post-game. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the Snow the Goalie channel on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We do the post-game show in the feed, and then when we do our regular show, that's also in the podcast feed as well. All right, we'll be back post-game. Enjoy the third period. Let's see if the Flyers pull this one out.
Yep.
Welcome. What the heck happened to our camera? It looks like a potato cam. Does it look like potato cam to you? It looks like potato cam to me. No?
On my screen, it looks fine.
I think our camera had about as good a third period as the Flyers.
It's also crooked. It's not zoomed in on just me and you.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. Jesus.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. All right, hold on. We're going to re-rack this in the hopes that intern Andrew has a stronger post game than the Flyers just had a third period. We'll be right back in 5 seconds. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, and north of the equator. Flyers lose. Absolutely just brutal, dismal, lackadaisical, listless third period. This is the kind of hockey where if you spent money on a ticket tonight, you win a refund.
Well, it was good for 2 periods.
Oh, that's great.
It was good until 40 seconds left in the second period.
That's what every spouse in the tri-state area looks forward to. The first 2/3 were fine. The last third, not so great.
Boy, what a bad period.
It was as bad of a period. Flyers put up 2 shots.
2.
In the final frame. 2 shots. I took more shots with Ant's mom after his wedding.
How many times are you going to use that joke, that reference?
It's been a while. I don't know if you've realized this in 7 years or not, but I recycle a lot of the same jokes.
You do. You absolutely do. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was just like piss poor doesn't even begin to describe it. This team looked so lost in that third period. And in fairness, they had moments earlier in the game where they also looked lost, but they benefited a little bit. Like they avoided calamity a few times in the first 2 periods. They just couldn't do it in the third. I mean, once the floodgates opened, they opened all the way.
Yeah, I think once Kopitar got the 5th goal, I think that was it. The Flyers were checked out at that point. Those last 2 goals make the score look worse than probably the game was. But, one's an empty netter, and then, there's just a, whatever goal at the end there by Fiala. But, yeah, I think that the whole Kopitar goal, his second goal of the game. By the way, first multi-goal game for Kopitar since having a hat trick on opening night.
Good for him. Good on him.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Andrew, we both picked who? Did we both picked?
Everybody but Bundy picked the Kings.
Yeah, I had 4-2 Kings.
You and I both had.
I was not expecting
we
a
both
7
had 4-2. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Now we 3 of us had the. By the way, you should update those standings.
I will.
I think intern Andrew had a exact score the other night. Didn't he?
I did. 4-1 Wild.
Which would mean I think he remains the only person to have an exact score. That would be his second.
That would be his second this season. Yeah.
He's going to run away with this, and that's not good. We can't have that. Flyers have now lost 3 straight games, and all of the warm and fuzzies that a lot of people are feeling deep down in their tum-tums for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they have dissipated. Now,
you got Columbus coming in on Saturday, and they looked good against Columbus out there. So you can
really high bar there.
Well, I'm just saying you can turn it back around, but depending on what else happened, I got to look around, see what else happened around the league.
So that was the point that I wanted to make.
Yeah, go ahead.
Russ kind of said it. I think it was pregame that the Flyers are just kind of like on the bubble right now, and I think that the Flyers have done well enough to, pardon the pun here, just kind of skate by, and I like it. They're hanging around, but the more I thought about it, I was like, well, it seems like it's because they're just beating bad teams. So like you said, Columbus is coming in. So I was like, let me look and see when was the last time the Flyers actually beat a good team. They haven't beaten a team that's currently in playoff position since November 14th.
Yeah.
They've lost 6 games in a row now against teams that are currently in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're struggling, right?
So what you're saying is now and never, then they fall apart.
Yeah.
That's right.
So let's put it this way:
they are pretenders. I need everybody to have a momentary reality check. Join me back where the actual people have existed, who have said this team is not good.
There's a real chance.
They have the ability to have good stretches against bad teams. They're not a good team. They are not a playoff team because of the parity in the league. To your point, what we talked about pregame. the worst or the fewest points in the league to the 11th fewest points, which is what the Flyers were entering tonight. It was a difference of 8 points on the season. That was it. All right? There's a lot of parity in the league. This team is not a good team.
There's a real chance that come Saturday night, if they lose in regulation to Columbus, that they are in last place in the Metro after that game. That right now they're only 1 point ahead of 3 teams in the division that are in 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Blue Jackets. All have 31 points. Flyers have 32. Rangers play tomorrow, and the Islanders play Saturday, and the Flyers play Columbus. So if the Flyers lose that game, Rangers, Islanders, both get a point, or they would move ahead of the Flyers, and the Flyers would fall to 8th place in the Metro, last place.
So the decision to bench Cam York last night and then scratch him tonight had what I like to call the cascading effect.
It did. It did. It did have a little bit of an effect.
They did not look sure-footed defensively in this game. I think that the omission of him from the lineup as a healthy scratch was a mistake. You simply can't afford. Has he been perfect since he's come back in the lineup? No. No. Not by a long shot. Is he still one of your best 6 defensemen?
Yes.
He is. And when you're taking on a team that in theory was waiting for you here, that is still in the midst of a very long road trip, he needs to be in the lineup. And so while the coach might have felt like it was the right time to make that or send that message and to make the decision to not have him play tonight, I think it actively cost them the opportunity to have this be a closer game. Again, the Flyers had leads in this game, and
they were up 3-2 with less than a minute to go in the game. I mean, the second period.
And that's when Sexy Alexi, as some people call him, Goalie the goalie, as others call him. We're not going to call him very sexy tonight. He's not very sexy. He's got long hair, but it is soaked. It's soaked, Anthony, not in sweat. It's soaked in disdain and disappointment. But Kolosov goes for that one puck. He misses it, and that's what ends up tying up the game in the second. It gives Los Angeles a ton of momentum entering the third, and we talked to Bundy about this during the intermission show, but it's a totally deflating goal as a team. If you're the Flyers, we talked about this during, I think, pregame and the first intermission. Their record with a lead after the second period versus with a lead or being behind after the second period, obviously drastically different. Kolosov kind of is at fault there for the third goal. But, man, the breakdowns that they had defensively in this game, and they happened early as well. There was the Drysdale one on the first goal that led to the breakaway. Drysdale kind of takes a couple of whacks at it. It was the first goal that the Kings scored on the backhand on the breakaway. There were issues all night. This wasn't just a third-period collapse. Again, this happened all night.
You know who's kind of going through it a little bit right now?
Most of the team.
Matvei Mishkov.
Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's 4 straight games without a point now for him.
The 20-year-old.
No, I'm not blaming him. No, but what I'm saying is that he looked like he didn't have his legs at all tonight, and I don't know, back to back.
Nice job out there.
Yes, great work by you, Michael.
As always, we'll see if any of your songs get us in trouble with YouTube again. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
You're an absolute delight. We have to have you on the show on Saturday for the holiday.
Yeah, the holiday episode. Show. Bring you on. Yeah.
All right.
Michael, that's Michael the organist here at Wells
the best in the biz.
He's right next to us during the game.
Can I just say one thing? Because I know you were about to get into who's struggling, and you said
I was about to get into Mishkov a little bit.
Just give me a second here.
Yeah.
This isn't a fun team to watch. I don't care what anybody says. It is not a fun.
About that.
It's not. It's not a sustainable system.
Well, it's not, but it doesn't mean that doesn't make them not fun.
I don't think they're fun.
Well, you don't think they're fun. That's your opinion. Sure.
This isn't a brand of hockey that is replicable year over year, and it's not something that they're going to be able to execute for 82 games. It's the same freaking story that we saw last year. This happened last year. This will happen again. Last year will repeat itself.
Yeah, but Russ, we know this. This is not.
The problem is that
this
organization has been, you have on one day you have Jonesy who goes out and says, "We're going to sell. We will not be buying at the deadline. We'll be selling."
Yes, they will.
And yet the comments from day to day are kind of like, "Whoa, give the guys a chance to go out and win." I don't care. None of it moves me.
Yeah, they're going to give them a chance. Two things can be true. The players that are on the roster are going to be given a chance to win. They're going to be told go out and try and win every game. That's the mantra of the team. That doesn't change the approach to how you look at structuring this roster.
I'm watching trades get made, and I know that trades are going to happen close to the deadline. I get it. There are a lot of tradable. There are tradable
who
pieces
do you want that got
on
traded?
this team.
Who do you
I
want?
liked the idea of taking a flyer on Juracek.
Did you want Capo Caco?
I would not have been opposed.
Did you see how
I
much
would not
was
have been
given
opposed
up
to
for
Capo
him?
Caco. Would not have been opposed.
Yeah, but the Rangers aren't going to trade him in the division.
Well, of course they're not, but I'm just theoretically have been opposed.
Like you just won't let go of this
What
thing
I-
about they're not trading. They're not trading. They're not trading.
They have a bunch of nobodies on this team. They have a bunch of guys who are not
and
long term.
they're going to trade guys
top level
before the
players.
deadline. They just
a lot of their
are.
younger guys are once again kind of hitting the regression. I don't know what to tell you. Tyson Forster tonight, 2-goal performance. Right? You say that's great. That's a good step forward. He's not going to do that for like the next 8 games. We know what this player is. We know what this player is under this goal. What are we doing?
Oh my God!
You know what?
They're playing Christmas carols.
They are so somebody in the building, because we're probably loud. They just started playing.
Christmas
they're
music
like
behind
we
us.
are going to get the Press Row Show in trouble on YouTube. We're
What?
going to get a DMCA takedown.
You know they're watching us live and they go, "Oh yeah, Russ has already said there's something about the music playing behind him. Let's
right.
blare Christmas music."
Do you
real
know?
loud."
Do you know the unbelievable irony? Did you
What?
hear what song it
was
was?
Joy to the World.
It was Joy to the
yeah,
World.
it's my Christmas song. Listen, I don't mean to be a jerk. I know, and I know that I tend to be like the voice of the fans in your mind or whatever sometimes, or some of the fans. But like, I'm at the point now where it's like we know what a lot of these guys are. I don't foresee this thing like turning around in a super meaningful way. I think it's great that
Correct.
Forster had a 2-goal game tonight. I think it's great.
We're in
you know
agreement
what?
there.
He's going to have a bunch of those games this year where he's going to have 2 goals, and then he's going to disappear for 7 games at a time, and we're going to say, all right, is he actually getting any better? Who knows? Who knows? Where was Owen Tippett tonight?
He had a good first period.
Scored.
It's a good thing that they only play 1 period.
No, he didn't score.
Tippett didn't?
No,
Are you sure about that?
positive. Forster had 2, and
He wrote the story for the AP. Don't question
Noah
it.
Cates had the
Yeah.
3rd.
Okay.
Yeah. He almost did. He had a nice play where he tried to set up Mishkov, and I think it was Jared Spence who came back checked and knocked the puck away.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. He got an expected goal. That's what I was going off of expected goals. Man. Joke's on you.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, no, Russ.
I promise. I'm not trying to be negative. It's just like I feel like.
But I don't think
I feel
that-
like we're on the same ride as last year.
Yeah, but you are on the same ride as last year. But I don't know why you're surprised by this. We talked about this at the beginning of the season.
I think it's more that I'm disappointed by this.
Why are you disappointed by this?
Because they picked in purgatory last year. I don't want the same thing to happen. I don't want them to start selling themselves on the idea of, give the boys a chance and maybe they'll make the playoffs. So we're going to do the same
they
thing they did
didn't
last
do
year.
that last year.
They traded Walker.
Yes.
They could have traded Lawton. Briere came out after the fact and said, market value, we're not going to take market value. We'll take above market value
here's
for
the
Scott
thing.
Lawton.
Here's the thing.
What's Scott Lawton? Scott Lawton had a 4-goal game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he had an assist tonight.
4 out of what the 7 he has on the season in one game. Excellent.
2 of them were empty netters.
Like,
He's got
what are we doing?
He's got more goals than Cutter Gauthier.
Like, what are we doing?
January 11th.
But the point is that when you look at Scott Lawton last year at the deadline, you say, okay, maybe you didn't trade him for the 2nd-round pick that you would have gotten for him. He still had term left, and you go, okay, well, he's a candidate to be traded again next season. So like you could still get what you want to get for him. It just didn't matter. Like that wouldn't have changed if they would have traded Scott Lawton at the trade deadline last year. How is this team any different right now than they would be right now? How are they any different than right now?
I don't know.
They're not, because you're talking about potentially getting a draft pick that won't play here for 5 years.
First of all, it might have put them in better position last year in the draft. If they start the season without Scott Lawton, there's another player in here to take his place. They're probably, there's probably a couple of points that they leave on the board to start the season.
The thing that you fail to acknowledge time and again
is that he's a bottom 6 forward that they're absolutely in
the
love
thing you fail to acknowledge time and again, and that's not true at all.
It is. He's a bottom 6 forward.
They're not. It's not that they're in love with him, and that's why they won't.
We're
trade
not going
him.
to take market value. We're only going to take
Russ,
above market. He's a bottom 6 forward.
They can't be good
what
now.
Are we doing?
They can't. They are under. They're in cap hell right now.
Trade him.
It does you no good, is what I'm trying to say.
It makes you a worse team. The whole point of a rebuild is to not be good. What am I missing? I said
I give up. I literally give up this conversation with you because it does not happen in the NHL.
Entering tonight, the disparity between the fewest points in hockey and the 11th is 8 points. When I keep saying to you, lower the ceiling, lower the floor.
Yeah.
You move off of a Scott
How's
line.
Buffalo done in that spot?
They have crappy infrastructure. I certainly hope that the Philadelphia Flyers have a better front office, better scouting.
How's Montreal done in that
and a better
situation?
infrastructure.
Chicago.
How's Cole Caulfield doing? How many goals does Cole Caulfield have?
I'll tell you in just a second.
Can you double check that? I'm just wondering. I can't think of it off the top of my head. You can use both hands when you're typing. Why is this, this is a one-handed thing?
I don't know.
The momentum of the point is dying.
He has 17 goals.
He has 17 goals. Do you know who the Flyers chose instead of Cole Caulfield in that draft?
Who's that?
Cam York.
Didn't play today.
Didn't play today.
Oh, so that's your answer to that.
17 goals. Would a 17-goal winger who's young, would that look good on this Flyers team?
I think it would look pretty good.
Would that be something that I don't know? Maybe people would get excited about to go along with a young up and coming star in Matvei Michkov. I don't know. Maybe, but we.
So now your bitch is that the previous I'll say it again. Now your bitch is the previous general manager who was not a good general manager drafted somebody higher.
The one that you rode for
drafted. No, all I said was you have to give him an opportunity. You wanted to kill him right off the bat
because he stunk, and he proved that he stunk.
My point.
He was bad at his job.
Point is now your complaint is that they didn't draft a guy that they could have drafted.
I complained at the time
at a higher pick.
Yes, I complained.
At a higher pick.
Yes.
When you said when you have the higher picks, you need the higher picks. Then they had the higher pick and they took the wrong guy.
You're yelling. This is what you do when you're losing an argument.
No, I'm not losing an argument.
But I'll say in Anthony's defense, I don't know what them missing on Cole Caulfield has to do with them not trading Scott Laughton.
I'm just pointing out the fact that
you just want to find every negative thing you can find.
No, because
that's all you do.
Because you said how's it working for Buffalo, and then you said how's it working for Montreal. Montreal. What did Montreal do? They drafted a young
and how's it working for them?
And they're also in last place right now.
He's a good young
place.
Player.
They're in last place.
And last year, they also ended up picking higher than the Flyers, and they were able to go out and get a player in Ivan Demidov that I'm pretty convinced is going to be a very good player in this league. And the Flyers had to pick in hockey purgatory, and they're rolling the dice
the Flyers
and Jellichenko's going to be good.
Who's now going to play on the Canadian World Junior team?
And we'll see if he's good.
And we will see. But the fact of the matter is that guys get picked in the middle of the first round and turn into star players all the time.
They also totally stole Michkov at number 7.
They didn't. Well,
yes, they did.
Define steal.
It was a steal.
Well, it was a steal, but define how they.
He should have been taken 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
He would have been number 2 had he not been Russian.
Right.
Yeah, he should have been taken 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
And he didn't meet with the Coyotes.
The Flyers took a chance.
So there's a little bit of a benefit to him just being like, I will not meet with you. Allegedly.
Yeah, the point is...
You have taken this to such a negative place on this postgame, and I am ashamed.
I have taken it to a negative place.
It is the holiday season.
I've taken it to a negative
holiday season.
Russ wants to disband the franchise.
Chris Mahana Kwanzaa is coming up, and you have derailed this show with negativity.
Look, this team is going to be bad,
positives.
and they're going to be at the bottom of the standings, and you're not happy about it, but yet that's what you want. Like, I don't understand how you can continue to die on this hill. Like, this is exactly what they're going to do. They're bad. They're a bad team. Mm-hmm. But the league is bad, right? There's like 6 good teams in the NHL right now, and the rest of it is mediocre to bad. And the Flyers are in that mix.
Small margins.
But that's what it is.
2 points here, a point there. But that could ultimately be the difference.
But I would even push back on you on that. So let's say that they do manage to get into the playoffs and they get fed to Florida in the first round. What good does that even do?
I don't want them to be. Who? Are you talking to him?
No, I
don't want them into the playoffs.
Well, you're talking about how close the standings are, and you're saying 2 points here and 2 points there.
Yeah, 2 points here and 1 point there could be the difference between whether you pick 10th or you pick 7th or you pick 6th.
You're going.
And again,
so
we
what
know
is the
two lottery.
So let me ask you this:
lower the floor. Lower the floor.
So
this trade deadline. I'm saying this right now. This trade deadline, right? They need to make a number of moves, and I will hold you to this because I have a feeling that you're going to say something like you said last year. By the time the trade deadline is over, they need to move at least 3 roster players by the deadline. 3.
No, they don't.
If you're serious about rebuilding.
No, they don't. They can. But they don't have to because again,
lower your floor, lower your ceiling.
No.
You're in a rebuild. Do it the right way.
Because you can still move those players in the offseason before the draft. It doesn't matter whether you do it at the deadline or you do it in June, as long as you do it before the draft. So to sit there and say it's a failure if he doesn't make 3 trades at the deadline is asinine because you can still make those same trades with more teams in play in June.
Lower the ceiling, lower the floor. Listen. If you do that, just follow me.
I don't think you know think you know the history of the sport at all.
I know what the history of this franchise is, and it's a lot of mediocrity at best.
But that's fine.
So
just
God
like
forbid,
that's what you do is you pay attention to one team and one team only.
Well, God forbid.
Look around the league.
Why do I care about Montreal? Why do I care about the old Phoenix franchise?
The idea that you have, which is born out of your ridiculous love of what Sam Hinkie did with the Philadelphia 76ers, which still has not worked.
Once again, a false equivalence.
No, it's not a false equivalence.
This is a lazy old man WIP.
No, this is why you feel the way you do.
No, it's not.
It does not work the same way in hockey. I'm sorry.
I'm on the record
It does not.
as explaining the difference between what Hinkie tried to do, what Hextall said he was trying to do. They're not the same. I have acknowledged the fact that the impact of one player is not the same in the NHL as it is in the NBA. They're not as ready. They're not as ready immediately. They don't have the same impact because there's only 5 guys on the court at a time.
Right.
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
It's totally not the same thing.
Yeah. But you know what? Look at the difference that Matvei Michkov has had. One player, one elite prospect.
And really, and what's the difference? Because they have a worse record now than they did a year ago at the same time. What's the impact?
They have a guy that they believe they can build around and will help them attract free agents when they're ready to flip the script.
Yeah, sure.
Which is not, they have not had that.
Okay.
Get another one of those guys.
You may already have one. You
right
may.
Now, who do they have right now?
You may have.
Who?
Maybe Luchenko is that guy. You don't know. You don't know. You didn't like that pick last year because you had never heard of the guy. Okay, you flipped out when they drafted Jet Luchenko. Like, oh my God, he wasn't ranked any higher by the experts. This is a terrible pick. It's an awful pick. Then he comes in here and he makes the team. Okay,
because the coach wanted him.
No, well, that's fine.
And then he got sent down to junior like we expected.
Yeah, which was fine, because we were told that was going to happen. But the reality of it is they look at him and they say, you know what, this is a guy who's going to be a top 6 forward, probably a center.
They probably think that Tyson Forster is too, and they gave Owen Tippett money to be a top 6 forward. And we'll see.
Yeah, again, they got to play with. They don't have centers to make those guys better. Those wingers can't
totally fine. Do. You know where you can get a center? They aren't readily available right now in the trade market. You know,
which is what you want them to do. Trade.
You know where you can. This is. I don't understand why you're like this. You know where you're going to be able to potentially get a game-changing center?
Go ahead, Russ.
In the draft.
Yeah.
Is a pretty easy place because you're
I just said.
You're in cap.
They just took one. They just drafted one that you didn't like at the time. If you go back to the draft episode, you thought it was a bad pick.
I think it was a stretch.
Okay, well,
and we'll see if it is or not.
Well, but this is the point. Like you're making a statement about a guy who you've never watched play a game of hockey until he played here.
Get yourself in position to hopefully get one of the better centers in this upcoming draft.
How do you know who they are? You don't know.
I'll rely on the scouts. I will hope that the Flyers scouts are able to identify.
Which scouts are you relying on?
I'm hoping that the Flyers internal scouts are able to pick out.
Who are you, Russ Joy, relying on? Which scout are you relying on? Because every team has a different feeling about players. Mm-hmm. Every team feels differently about different guys. Mm-hmm. Who are you relying on? Other than what the common conversation is that's put out there by media people like me who pay attention to. I'll be honest, I don't pay that close attention to prospects.
None of us do.
But there are people that do, and because they write stories and rank players, and that's what you go off on.
I'm not going to pay attention to Craig Button. He will not be the guy that I pay attention to.
But you know why you should pay attention to Craig Button?
Because he's been wrong about a lot of Flyers prospects?
No, but you know why you should pay attention to Craig Button? Because Craig Button is plugged in with every team and knows what they're thinking. So when he puts his list together, he's pretty close. That doesn't mean whether or not his scouting is accurate or not.
That's the part that I take then.
Fair enough. Yeah. But when you see what he puts out there.
Didn't Button have a lot of negative stuff to say about Michkov last year?
Because that's what they were told, because everybody was told the same story out of Russia. Everybody was told the same story, right? But again, they're media. This is what I'm trying to say to you. We're not sitting in that room.
No, but that's why I'm saying.
But as someone who was one time and only one time in my life that was embedded in that room after or prior to a draft and saw what those conversations were like because we were filming it, right? I saw lists that were completely different than what was out there. Completely different, right? Now, the Flyers happened to get that one wrong. I'll be honest. That was Sam Moran. They got that one wrong. Okay?
Big body, though.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they've got a few big body guys.
They were hoping that he could work out to be like a poor man's Pronger. Is what they were hoping for, and it didn't work out.
Look at us. We've come back down.
But the reality of it is that just because you see a list from Central Scouting or whatever, blah blah blah, like it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the team feels.
To be clear, because sometimes you and I we yell at each other, and I think we kind of miss part of the plot here. I would like to believe that the Flyers front office and the guys that they and maybe women, I don't know the makeup of the entire scouting department right now. I would like to believe that their scouting department, if they found a diamond in the rough of Luchenko, I want to be able to put some hope and some faith in them that they're going to be able to identify one of the better center prospects in this upcoming draft. I don't see a scenario right now where you're able to go out and trade for a young upcoming center currently. Now, could they parlay some of the draft capital they have coming up to move up higher in the draft to go get that guy? Perhaps. My long-held belief and hope here is that if you put yourself in position to draft, let's say 7th, as opposed to 15th, you can then use some of that draft capital and maybe move up if you want. And if not, you're still sitting there at number 7. There's probably still a very good center that your scouts are very happy to have. That's my only point. That's why I say
I just have a hard time with you constantly making it seem like the difference between 7 and 15 is this incredible, awful chasm. Like, I mean, it's really not.
It depends on the year, though.
No, but it really isn't, Russ, because what you end up having is your top 2 or 3 guys, maybe 4, depending on the year. I think that, up there, you have those guys. But then once you get past that group, the next group is usually 10 to 15 guys deep. So it really doesn't freaking matter if you're picking 7th or 15th. You're getting similar players. I
think we'll do a breakdown. Maybe I'll do it. Or you and I will collaborate on it. We'll take a look at the difference between the top 7 versus the 8 through 15. Okay. How many of those guys have become all-stars? How many of...
Go ahead.
Let's, over the last decade. I'm actually interested now.
Go ahead.
I would like to see that breakdown.
Give me a random year, and I'll read you the top 15 picks.
2000...
Want to do 22?
Well,
go back further.
Soon.
Go back to 2020?
No,
2020 was 2019. Because 2020 was the weird... That was the weird year, right, where things were kind of shut. No.
The 21 draft was the one that they couldn't watch anybody because 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So either do 19 or 20.
All right, I would go.
We've turned the post-game show into a good episode of Snow the Goalie.
Go 18 because I think at least that year you're going back 6 years. You're talking about guys that are like 24 now, right? So let's go 18, 2018.
Number 1, Rasmus Dahlin.
Good player.
Number 2, Andrei Svechnikov.
Really good player.
Number 3, Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Okay.
Number 4, Brady Tkachuk.
Okay.
Number 5, Barrett Hayton.
Not a hit.
Number 6, Philip Zadina.
Okay.
7, Quinn Hughes.
Really good.
8, Adam Boquist.
Yeah.
9, Vitaly Krastov.
Yeah, no.
10, Evan Bouchard.
Yeah.
Good player.
Good player.
11, Oliver Wahlstrom.
Yeah, he just got waived.
12, Noah Dobson.
Good player.
13, Ty Dellandrea.
Yeah, no.
Not familiar with him.
Anytime he struggles with a name, that's not a guy.
I was going to say, if they didn't make it in the NHL, then I'm going to have no idea how to pronounce these names.
Right.
Number 14, Joel Farabee.
Okay.
And then number 15, oh boy, Grigory Denisenko.
What year was that?
That's 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
7 was Quinn Hughes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah. All right, go to the next year.
19. Number 1 was Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
2, Capo Caco.
Not good.
Seattle Kraken legend.
Yeah.
3, Kirby Doc.
Okay.
4, Bowen Byram.
Yeah.
5,
Wasn't that the one that the Flyers wanted to...
They were always interested in Bo Byram.
Wasn't he the one that they were interested in around the Giroux trade?
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
5, a guy we just saw tonight, Alex Turcotte.
Yeah.
6, Moritz Seider.
Yeah. Really good defenseman for the Red Wings.
7, Dylan Cousins.
Yeah.
8,
Guy might be moved.
Philip Broberg.
Broberg. Yeah.
9, Trevor Zegras.
Yeah.
These Russian guys. 10, Vasily
Podkolzin.
Podkolzin.
Yeah. Podkolzine, yeah.
Okay. Number 11, Victor Soderstrom. Okay, these next few are all Americans. That's
White
good.
people. White Americans coming up.
Okay, 12 through 15 all American. 12 Matthew Boldy. 13 Spencer Knight. 14.
Spencer Knight's a good pick
That's a
there.
good one, yeah.
14 again. Another Flyer, Cam York.
Yeah.
And then 15. Cole Caulfield.
Cole Caulfield.
Okay.
Right. So there's a point. I mean, there's a point right there. I mean,
All right, so Cole Caulfield. But
I'm just saying, like, you find these. You go year by year. You're going to find these guys.
You can.
Yeah.
But
You really would have to get to 1, 2, 3.
But
which teams are not trading 1, 2, 3. I'm telling you, they're not.
I mean, that's all. In fairness, though, when we're going through the first 1 through 7, we're probably saying 4 or 5 out of the first 7. We're going, all right, like good player.
Good player.
And then 8 through 15, you're like 2, maybe 3, sort of outliers. But then you kind of run into like a Farabee. Farabee's an okay player, but he's not a franchise cornerstone.
Correct.
So all of this is to say, I look at last year in the draft, and what was the one thing that you kept kind of coming back to? Nobody wanted to trade all the way back to where the Flyers were. Like you couldn't even get up. You couldn't get up.
But they couldn't even. They
couldn't even get.
Remember,
it was to try to get to 7 to get to 4.
They were trying to do the Howie Roseman, where they were trying to go jump twice.
They were trying to. Was it go to 9 to then to 4, or was it 7 to 4?
I think it was 9 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah, is what they were trying to do. They were trying to go from where they were. No, they remember they traded back.
Yes.
To get Luchenko.
Yes.
But they were trying to go up to 9, and then they were going to try and go from 9 to 4. Was what the goal was. But nobody in the top 5 traded a pick to anybody.
I'm going to violate our language rule here for Brad. For Brad. Hey, Brad. Yeah, I'm trying to make a point here because Ant and I are arguing about the value of the players at 1 through 7 versus 8 through 15. I'm the one who's saying I would rather draft 1 through 7. So just,
I don't know if Brad Miller's going to recover from that one. That was a slam.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
Somebody
tweeted at me the other day, and they're like, in the last episode of Snow the Goalie, you were really a jerk about somebody's question. And I was like, I don't know.
Don't be mean to the listeners.
All I'm saying to you is that once you get past 4 in a normal draft.
Is that Brad Miller, the NBA player Brad
4,
Miller?
maybe 5.
Brad Miller played for the Bulls and the Pacers, I think. Brad, good job.
You're getting the next group of players are all in the same bucket. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
So unless you're getting up to 1, 2, 3, 4, you're pretty much getting guys in the same bucket.
I would love to see if they can get to, like, let's say 7 this year, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, while I understand the point, Lawton, Ristolainen, whoever else, and you say, hey, you could trade them at the draft. It's true. I'm just in that lower the floor, lower the ceiling, because I think that those 3 points, those 5 points could be the difference between 3 or 4 spots in the draft. And ultimately, like, if you are trying to move up, maybe it's not up to 3, right? But if you're at, like, 8 at the end of the season versus 11, you take 8 plus 1 of the Colorado or the Edmonton picks, maybe that does get you up to 6. But it probably won't get you from 11 to 6.
It's also not going to get you from 8 to 4.
I'm not making that argument. I'm saying that, like, if you...
Yeah, but you have to. That's where it comes down to having intel on the other teams.
Correct.
Knowing who the other teams are going to take.
Yes.
And do you have to try and make a move to get to the player you want, or do you not? Like, you might not have to. Like, the Flyers knew that they were going to take Luchenko no matter what. They were able to trade back because they knew the team that they traded with was not going to draft him.
Yeah.
So, like, they were comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But they also knew that they couldn't go further back because there were 3 teams behind them who wanted Luchenko.
Lantros here is making a point that I think we've kind of covered on this show a lot. But, yeah, the top 2 spots are a lottery, which is where I always come back to. It's always better to finish higher, right? Because you can only get jumped at worst by 2 teams.
Right.
Right. So if you pick, or if you're like the number 13 team, in theory, you could get jumped and then you're pushed down farther versus like if you had the worst record in hockey, you had the fewest points, the lowest you could draft is number 3.
Correct.
Right. And so, like, yes, there is the lottery element to it, but it's only for those top 2 picks.
Correct.
You don't want to be in that bubble-ish area because then you do open yourself up to potentially going down further and you're like, oh, this is even worse. Anyway, I think this was a pretty productive post-game.
Oh, fantastically productive.
Well, I mean, it was good stuff. We're gonna clip some of this up. We're gonna put it on the YouTube channel.
It's 10:45 and we are still here talking.
I'm supposed to grocery shop tonight.
Yeah, that ain't happening. Nancy, that ain't happening. Nancy's not even awake at this point.
I think it's gonna happen.
It's not happening. He's not.
I have some grocery stores that I can stop at.
Shopping. And you know what? I feel bad for our security or intern, or the Flyers intern here, who's been waiting for us to get done to tear down the equipment.
Are they gonna pay you overtime?
He said no comment.
That was a smart answer.
It was a good
Smart
answer. It was a good answer.
All
If the mics weren't on, he would have probably given you the actual truth.
I think we should campaign for overtime pay here tonight.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Anyway, it's time for us to go. Big thank you to everybody who joined us in the in the live chat. Well, a lot of activity over there tonight. A lot of people over on YouTube and on Facebook and on X. We will be back. What day is that? Saturday for the
Saturday
Christmas
night.
edition of the show.
Yes.
Sorry, the holiday edition. The Chris Mahana Kwanzaa edition. Intern Andrew will be dressed like an elf. He'll have a poem. Are you going to be on TV at all between now and Saturday?
I've not been asked to, no.
Okay. Anything else you have going on?
Other than the new gig, no.
But you already talked about that.
Yeah, no.
Friday morning, Russ Joe Show, 8:30 a.m. We're going to talk about the Flyers, Sixers, Arena, Eagles preview, and All City. Media Wars. Prepare for battle. We'll talk to all of you on Saturday here on the Press Row Show. Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to all of you very, very soon.